The European Parliament is taking up the case of a man from Northumberland sent to prison in India. Nick Dunn from Ashington was arrested alongside 5 other men from Britain when the boat they were working on entered Indian waters back in 2013. Earlier this month, they were sentenced to 5 years in jail. Now, the European Parliament has confirmed that it's raised the case with the Indian authorities several times. And the MEP for the North East, Jonathan Arnott, spoke at the European Parliament during a debate yesterday.
Well, obviously this has been an ongoing issue for quite some time, and it was really an opportunity to call on the Indian government to take some action, and that what seems to be a miscarriage of justice is something which can be corrected.
And you spoke as well yourself. What did you say to the Parliament in the debate?
Well, I think you have to be respectful when you're asking something from another government, and I tried to call on the Indian government to look again at the case. And of course, I understand that the Indian government are going to have concerns about illegally held weapons. They're going to have concerns after the events in Mumbai in 2008. You know, that is perfectly reasonable and understandable. But what's happened here is that we've got British citizens who have been caught up really in a situation where they've been in the wrong place at the wrong time, acting in good faith, and then we find that, of course, he's been sentenced to 5 years of rigorous imprisonment.
So what was the conclusion of the debate?
Well, in the European Parliament, when these debates take place on matters of importance around the world, it doesn't have any legal effect or force. It's an opinion that the European Parliament is trying to get across. So it's not that having that debate actually necessarily changes anything. And I suppose, I'm going to make comments like that as somebody who's opposed to the European Union anyway, in a sense. But it's really about saying that there is an injustice which I am wanting to highlight through speaking in that debate.
Mm-hmm. So there's not necessarily any action that's going to come out of this. It's just the European Parliament's stance, because obviously the government here has said we'll do as much as we can, but we can't interfere in India's judicial process. So I guess the European Parliament's similar. They can't just go in and say, right, send these guys back to serve their sentences in Britain.
Pretty much, and this is something which it's not a party political issue, you know. And if you can bring a certain amount of pressure to bear to get that argument across to the Indian government in the right way, to say, of course we respect your sovereignty, of course we understand that you have genuine and reasonable concerns, but actually is imprisoning these British citizens the way to go about dealing with that problem, when quite clearly they had absolutely no idea that they were doing anything wrong. They thought they were there trying to help with the fight against piracy in India, and they find themselves in this situation. So I'm really saying to the Indian government, have you really got the right people here?
That was the MEP for the North East, Jonathan Arnott.